When this woman found a dirty, scruffy-looking cat in the garbage, she was shocked. It was hard to believe anyone could toss aside such a beautiful animal. But that moment was just the beginning. What she'd discover a few days later was even more surprising. It all started on a chilly winter evening. As she stepped outside to take out the trash like she always did, something made her pause. The air was quiet, still, and cold, but then a faint meowing broke through the silence. It wasn't loud, but it was steady, a soft little cry that pulled at her heart. The strange part was, it sounded like it was coming from everywhere at once. The alley's icy walls bounced the sound around, making it impossible to tell where it was really coming from. She acted fast. Pulling out her phone, she hit the flashlight button. A beam of light cut through the darkness, landing on the shadowy walls and dingy trash cans around her. Her eyes scanned every corner, trying to find the cat. But the ground was empty. There were no signs of movement, not between the cans or under the boxes. That soft meowing kept going, though, and it was getting to her. So where was it hiding? Then her eyes landed on one of the trash cans. It was filthy, covered in grime, and giving off a smell that made her stomach turn. But it was the only place left to check. If the cat was anywhere, it had to be in there. She hesitated for just a second, then stepped closer, her heart beating faster with every step. The smell was awful, and her eyes started to sting, but she pushed through and leaned over the edge to look inside. What she saw made her freeze. Inside all that nasty garbage, a pair of bright green eyes blinked up at her. There, buried under the mess, was a small cat with tangled fur and a scared little face. It looked fragile and miserable, but there was still something hopeful in the way it looked at her, like it was holding on, waiting for someone to care. Without thinking twice, she reached down, her hand stretching toward the cat like a promise. But the poor thing was too far down. Her fingers barely brushed the edge of the can, and no matter how far she leaned in or stretched on tiptoe, she couldn't get close enough. Her arms ached from trying, but it just wasn't working. She looked around. It was late and freezing, and the street was empty. There was no one out for a walk, and she knew it wouldn't go over well to knock on someone's door asking for help pulling a cat out of a trash can in the middle of the night. So she stood there, thinking fast, determined to come up with a better way. Could she get the cat to jump onto a trash bag? If she could, maybe then she'd be able to grab it. With that thought, the woman rushed back inside her house and returned with a small cookie. She dangled it gently in front of the cat's face. Once the little one locked eyes on the treat, she carefully moved around the edge of the trash can until she was just above a stack of dirty, crumpled bags. The smell was awful, really awful, but she pushed past it. She had to help this cat. The cat looked like it was going to leap, but right at the last second, it dropped back down. It was just too tired, too weak. She could see that clearly now. Okay, she thought, I need a new plan. She looked around and spotted a small plastic crate nearby. It didn't look strong, and it definitely wasn't tall enough for her to reach down comfortably. But maybe, just maybe, if she stood on it and stretched as far as she could, it might work. Would it hold her weight? She didn't know. Still, she had to try. She dragged it over, placed it beside the trash can, and carefully climbed on. Slowly, she tested her balance, and once she was sure she wouldn't fall, she reached both arms down into the can. The cat wasn't ready for the sudden move and let out a sharp hiss. But when her hand found the loose skin at the back of its neck and lifted slightly, the cat suddenly went still. That was a good sign. Very gently, she pulled it up. It was heavier than it looked, but she didn't let go. With all her strength, she lifted the cat out of the trash and into her arms. It was filthy, it stank, and it didn't look healthy at all. For a second, she hesitated. Was it safe to bring it inside? Could she catch something from it? But then she looked down at the little thing, shivering and barely hanging on, and her heart answered for her. If she left it out here, it wouldn't make it through the night. So she took a deep breath, held it close, and brought it into her warm home. Once inside, she quickly found some food and water. The cat dove in like it hadn't eaten in days, and honestly, she figured that was probably true. After it had its fill, it grew even quieter, barely moving, just watching her with wide, tired eyes. She figured this might be the right time to start combing through its tangled, messy fur. With all the patience she could gather, she spent hours gently working through the knots and dirt. The poor thing was too weak to fight back, and it didn't even make a sound when she gave it a quick bath in lukewarm water. When the cat was finally clean and a little more relaxed, she gave it a name, Martha. Still, even after everything, Martha looked uneasy. Her little whiskers twitched, and she trembled ever so slightly, showing just how scared and unsure she still felt. Worried and full of questions, the woman decided she would take Martha to a professional first thing the next day. But for now, she made her a cozy bed inside an empty box, carefully lining it with soft towels. When she gently placed Martha inside, the cat didn't fight it at all. She just curled up into a tight little ball, clearly scared and unsure. The woman's heart ached. What kind of life had this cat lived to make her so fearful? The next day they made a stop at the groomer, and that's when the woman finally started to get some answers. Martha's matted fur was shaved off, giving her some real relief and a much-needed fresh start. The moment all that heavy, tangled fluff came off, it was like Martha could finally breathe. She didn't look filthy anymore, and that awful trash smell that had clung to her body even after a bath was finally gone. As the groomer gently ran the clippers across her body, more than just fur was revealed. Underneath it all, the woman noticed something she hadn't expected: a swollen, round belly. At first, she thought maybe Martha had just eaten too much. After all, she had devoured that big bowl of food the night before. And for a cat that had likely been starving, maybe her stomach just wasn't ready for so much at once. But time passed, and nothing changed. Martha didn't seem uncomfortable, just full. And when she didn't go to the bathroom, the woman's concern grew again. She decided it was time to see the vet. It didn't take long for the vet to figure it out. After a quick scan, he looked up at her with calm certainty. Martha wasn't sick. She was pregnant. Not just early stages either. She was due any day. The woman was stunned. She stared at Martha, curled up on the exam table, and felt her heart skip a beat. How had this tiny, fragile cat survived out in the cold while carrying babies? The vet confirmed it. 3 kittens were on the way. Even more surprising, he told the woman that Martha hadn't been born a stray at all. Her body showed signs of earlier vaccinations, and her skin was free from the scars and scratches most street cats have. It was clear that someone had once cared for her, until they didn't. As heartbreaking as it was, the truth became clear. Someone had found out Martha was pregnant and tossed her away like garbage, not wanting the trouble of a litter. That's how she'd ended up in that trash can, dirty, cold, and still trying to protect the lives inside her. The woman was speechless. She felt a wave of emotion wash over her: sadness, anger, protectiveness. This little cat hadn't just been fighting to survive for herself. She had been quietly, bravely carrying new life the entire time. And now, everything had changed. The little family growing inside Martha had been hidden under layers of dirt and tangled fur. Now, with that all gone, the woman could finally see what had been there all along. She felt a strong sense of responsibility, not just for Martha, but for the tiny lives soon to arrive. She had to be their protector now, their safe place. When they got home from the vet, the woman knew Martha needed somewhere better to rest. The box from the night before was way too small and not nearly soft enough for a cat about to give birth. So she gathered up a bunch of old towels and made a cozy bed right next to the radiator where it would stay warm. She placed a food bowl and water dish nearby, too, so Martha wouldn't have to go far while carrying all that weight. As Martha settled into the fresh pile of towels, the woman stayed close by, watching her breathe softly in sleep. It was hard to believe this all started with just taking out the trash. Now here she was, about to help bring 3 kittens into the world. She smiled to herself, shaking her head at how quickly life can turn around. And turn it did. Just 2 days later, Martha gave birth to 3 tiny, delicate kittens. Each one was a little miracle, proof of how strong and determined their mom had been to keep them safe. The woman's heart swelled as she looked at the newborns huddled beside their mom. In that moment, she made herself a promise. No matter what, this family would stay together. She could never imagine doing to them what someone had done to Martha, throwing them away like they didn't matter. In the days that followed, under the woman's careful and loving care, Martha and her babies began to thrive. Martha's fur, once dull and lifeless, started to grow back, soft and shiny. She looked healthier every day, and it was clear she was stronger than anyone could have guessed. Maybe it was pure feline grit. Maybe she was just being a good mom. Either way, it was something special to witness. 8 weeks later, the kittens were finally old enough to be adopted. The woman began asking around, friends, neighbors, anyone who might want to take home some furry joy. She thought people would be eager to say yes, but she quickly found out that not many were ready to welcome 4 new cats into their lives. Martha, now calm and gentle, was clearly used to living with people. But her kittens? They were wild little things, playful, curious, and full of mischief. Her furniture had the scratches to prove it. The woman couldn't blame anyone for being hesitant. Still, she refused to give up. Martha and her babies deserved more than just any home. They needed the right one, a place where they could grow, play, and feel safe, just like they had with her. So she kept looking. Over the next few weeks, the woman reached out to a few local shelters, sending them pictures of Martha and her little ones. She let them know she was happy to keep fostering the family until they could find a loving home that would take them all together. The shelter staff warned her it would be tough to find someone willing to adopt all 4. But the woman wouldn't budge. Martha had already been through more than enough heartbreak, and she wasn't going to let her be separated from her babies too. After another quiet week, she decided to try something new. She started posting pictures and videos of Martha and her kittens on social media. She captured them during their sweetest moments, snuggling, playing, nursing, and napping in a fuzzy pile. To her surprise, people loved it. Comments poured in, and soon her videos were being shared over and over. Thousands of people across the area had seen her little cat family and knew they were looking for a forever home. But even with all that attention, not a single person stepped forward to take them in. If she was honest, the woman didn't really mind. Having Martha and the kittens around had changed her life in the best way. Before they came along, her days were quiet and a little lonely. Now she had something to look forward to each morning, even on the days she wasn't working or running errands. Sure, she was spending more than usual on food, litter, and toys, but the joy they brought her was worth every penny. So when someone online left a comment saying how beautiful her cat family was, something clicked. She looked over at them, Martha curled up on the couch and the kittens wrestling nearby, and realized they weren't just pets. They were hers, her family. The next day she called every shelter she had spoken to and told them her decision. She was keeping them, all of them. She booked a vet appointment, got each kitten microchipped, and officially registered herself as their owner. She even gave them their forever names, Axel, Aria, and Aries. From that moment on, the woman, Martha, and the 3 kittens began a new chapter together, one filled with warmth, healing, and love. None of them would ever have to feel alone or unwanted again. And now it's your turn. What did you think of Martha's journey? What would you have done if you'd found a scared little cat in the trash? Could you have opened your heart not just to one, but to 4 lives in need? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.